Alright, enter Obstagoon, possibly one of the most unique mons in the Catch Cup meta, because you can actually get it from Go Battle League rewards, and it's actually pretty cheap to build. Along with that, it's unique typing, and it's Kiss. Like, if you're old enough to remember the band Kiss, this is exactly what this Obstagoon looks like. It looks like it belongs in a band, and it's super cool. It's actually really good for Go Battle League and Open Great League, and for the Catch Cup, it can be a monster. So Obstagoon has a really impressive stat pool. As you see here, very balanced across the board. Balanced attack, defense, and stat. And because of this, it's somewhat bulky. Now, it has a unique typing, dark and normal. The only other types that really come to mind are Alolan Raticate family for this typing. It does have a few weaknesses and a few resistances. Fighting, Fairy, and Bug. You can probably see some Charmers here, especially Wigglytuff caught some for the Catch Cup. You might see some Scrafties as well as Machamps, because Machops are still spawning. So just be kind of careful about these weaknesses. Its weaknesses are plentiful. And there are also, however, there are also its resistances. So you resist Ghost, Psychic, and Dark. So you effectively wall Gengars. You do well against Hypnos. And those Umbreons that are single moves, because they don't have Last Resort, well, unless your opponent's crazy enough to TM Last Resort, aren't going to be plentiful in this meta. So it does have some weaknesses that might run around, but it also has some resistances that might run around as well. Overall, it's an incredibly powerful mon because it has a very powerful move pool. As you see here, its move pool is Counter, Gunk Shot, Lick, Night Slash, and you have Cross Chop. Most of the time you won't need Cross Chop, so I just keep Night Slash, but what makes it interesting is that if you boost with Night Slash, Counter is a monster. Counter is one of the most powerful fast moves in the game. It generates energy quickly, does a decent amount of damage, and it's a 2-turn fast move, so you will get to your Night Slashes and your other charge moves very quickly. It's very strong, very versatile, very powerful. Now, the other benefit to having an Obstagoon is it only costs 10k dust for you to power up, like I mentioned. However, it also maxes out at level 20 if you get it from, like, Catch or Research. So if you encounter it from Research, or if you get it from, like, Raid or Egg Hatches, it maxes out at around, like, 15. So, like, if you hatch it, or if you encounter it from Raid Research, it should already be near max level. As you see here, it doesn't take a lot from 15 to 20, so you won't spend a lot of dust powering this thing up for the Catch Cup. It's actually one of the cheapest options in the Catch Cup if you decide to use Galarian Zigzagoon, which you can, like I said, you can get from GBL rewards, you can hatch it too. However, it's very easily accessible. If you've been playing, you probably caught one from GBL if you've been playing it to get to rank 10, and you probably already have this beast ready for battle. So for the Catch Cup, like I said, cheap, powerful, good stat pool, and it's actually really interesting to run for the Catch Cup. As long as you keep it away and pivot away from its weaknesses, this thing can close out, and it can Gunk Shot / Trash Can, because it has Gunk Shot, your opponents in the Catch Cup. So here's the Great League rankings. I made a custom ranking that excludes mythicals from this listing. I kept some legendaries on here because things like Cresselia, if you do catch one with Grass Knot, you could probably still use it for this cup. As you see here, I excluded Mew, Deoxys, Victini, Celebi, Mew, and Melmetal. Melmetal is technically mythical, so because Meltan's mythical, you probably won't see it in the Catch Cup. And I already did the custom list here. You just filter out the species. This is a custom Catch Cup ranking. It's pretty accurate because it's against the entire meta and excludes all the mythicals, as you see above here. Now, I already ran the 2-shield scenario. As you see here, Obstagoon's actually at number 19 overall. Not the worst mon in the world, but it's also really, that means it's also really good. So it does decently well. As you see, there's no rating for it yet, but however, it's very, very strong. In the 2-shield, it ranks at number 19. That's really good. Let's see if we can get results for the 1-shield. 19 isn't a bad rating, especially for something that's like a meta where you could probably see a fighter or Charmers in the top moves, especially if you're going after the Clefables or Wigglytuffs, which are also very budget friendly. Well, Clefable's actually a little expensive. I would say the Wigglytuff's probably your more cheaper option. However, Obstagoon at number 19 is not a bad thing. It's very, that's actually a really strong position, considering a lot of the meta, like I said, does have Charmers and has fighters in it. You would think that something that's dark and normal is actually really, really bad to run this cup. It's not. Obstagoon actually does really well in Open Great League as well. You'll see a lot of people leading with it. And in the One Shield, it actually does decently well as well. It's number 30. It beats things like Galarian Stunfisk, Zweilous, Gengar, Alolan Marowak, if you can somehow get an Alolan Marowak, and Obama Now, the good thing about Obstagoon, you're not likely going to see Swamperts. So your Swamperts and Dragonairs and Altarias these are all possible options, except they're expensive. Skarmory, you might see it, but a 513 rating is not bad, so I wouldn't clutch that. If you literally boost, you probably could flip this matchup. Swamperts, I wouldn't worry too much about Swamperts because you can, unless your opponent Elite TMs is desperate enough to Elite TM Hydro Cannon, you should be pretty okay. But it does decently well in the One Shield scenario. Now in the zeros, we'll see what happens. But as you see there, like Obstagoon in the One Shield is very, very powerful. Very powerful. There's a lot of things it checks. It checks a lot of relevant meta, and like I said, it doesn't lose too hard against other picks. Now you do want to avoid, like you saw in the Sims on the matchups, you do want to avoid Altaria and Flyers if you can. If not, you could just keep chipping away at them with Night Slash and hope that you boost. So Obstagoon is a pretty beastly mon. You will still do a decent amount of damage. It's just, especially if you boost, if you boost, it's amazing. It's a +2 to your attack. And it's just it's good. It's good. As you see in the closer, Obstagoon ranks at number 79. You take things down like Magnezone, Galarian Stunfisk, and Zangoose, but the closer is where arguably Obstagoon is weakest. Again, you still have to watch out for Skarmory and Altaria, but it's still not a bad rating when it comes to Skarmory. A 517 rating is not that bad. As you see here, you lose against Venusaur, Mega Venusaur, and Shadow Swampert. Again, you're not going to see a lot of Elite TM mons here. If you do, then they're trying really hard for this meta for the Catch Cup. As you see here, you win against the Sleuth things. Regice isn't going to be in this meta, but I just put him in there anyways. But as you see, still decent, does decent. Especially against Galarian Stunfisk. That's probably the key one you want to counter in this meta. You can hatch G Stunfisk, so it's very possible that someone can have hatch a G Stunfisk, and if it's eligible for the Catch Cup, they will use it, and it's going to wreck. So Obstagoon does counter that. Alright, so here's my favorite part of the video. Of course, it's the Matrix, because we actually get to see what everything beats and everything dies to whatever, basically, what we beat, what we die to. So as you see, I got Obstagoon with all 3 movesets. I have Night Slash Gunshot, Night Slash Hyper Beam, and Night Slash Cross Chop. Now, the reason I have all 3 moves here is so you could see them. Oh, you always want to have Night Slash, because here's the thing. Even if Night Slash is resisted, if you boost, that's so worth it. So the boost makes it really good, and you get stabbed with Night Slash. You will get the same type attack bonus. As you see here, I also put the stat IV product to 13, 15, 15. Since you can only catch it or hatch it or catch it from research, you can't get a good IV one technically. But as you see here, this is that's pretty good. So level 20 has 13, 15, 15. You're almost near 1500 anyways. So the Obstagoon you get, or the Galarian Zigzagoon actually, because you have to evolve it, the one you get will be near max anyways, so it doesn't take a lot to power it up. That's why it's so cheap. But as you see here, I put all 3 versions here. I also have the custom Catch Cup meta. I plugged in the top 39 and put it to the right, and then I ran the sim already. This is what you might be able to counter for the Catch Cup. As you see here, you destroy G-Stump. You lose against Scrafty. Against all fire users, you lose. So if you see fighting, if it punches you in the face, run. No, seriously, just run. So this is the 2-shield scenario. As you see here, we beat G-Fist. You beat Alolan Marowak. I don't know where you're going to get Alolan Marowak, but, you know, I mean, it could be there, but yeah. Hyper Beam Obstagoon beats Altaria, strangely. I know that's pretty hilarious. And the Night Slash / Gunshot variation, you actually do neutral damage against it. Well, it's an IV-dependent matchup. So against Altaria, it's IV-dependent right here. Again, fighters, run. Zweilous, you beat Zweilous. I wouldn't worry too much about Swamperts, because like I said, unless you're finding someone that's crazy enough to Elite TM their Swampert, then you're not going to find one. Also, you can't TM away Frustration during this time, so you can't find a Shadow one anyways. You do still lose against things like Dragonair. Dragon Breath users do hurt a lot, so be careful. You do beat Swampert. You beat regular Swampert. You'll beat Obama. And you also beat, like I said, regular Dragon. You'll still beat regular Dragonair. You lose against You lose against Farfetch'd and Vigoroth, so if someone... I don't know who can find a Slack Off, but if you're lucky enough to find a Slack Off wherever you are, Vigoroth's really good in this meta, and it can take out, like I said, counters and pseudo-fighters, leave, just, go away. You do beat... This is huge. You beat Skarmory in the 2s, which is really interesting. So you'll beat Skarmory in the 2 shield. Skarmory is a very viable pick for the Catch Cup, because you can get it, for GBL wards, just like you can get Obstagoon. As you see here... You do win in the 2 shield. You do lose. You win in the 2 shield, or if you're up shield advantage. Like I said, in all scenarios where you're in shield advantage, or if you win in the 2s. So here it says you get a boost, but here, what if we don't boost? So take this out. Assume we don't apply debuffs. What happens? Continue battling. Update. Oh, what? Okay, I think I jacked up. But anyways, yeah, just make sure for Skarmory that you are aware of what your shield scenario is, because like I said, you do win in the 2s and the 1s, and you win just going straight Night Slash, as you see here. So you just get to straight Night Slash against a Skarmory in the 2 shield. You also beat Bastiodon. Now you lose against Charmers as well. Remember I mentioned, if you see Charmers, run. Run against Charmers. You see Charmers, you see Dragon Breath users, you see counter users, run. Which is why it's kind of bad to run Obstagoon. That's the kryptonite. Like, if you run a fighter, you're always going to run the risk of running into Charmers, so you just have to be careful. As long as you're careful of the Charmers, you should be okay. Now, you also died to Shadow Razor Leafers, unfortunately. So, Razor Leafers will tear you a new soul. So, if you don't want to go to the Shadow Realm, avoid Razor Leafers. Now, as you see here, Obstagoon beats Magnezone. You also beat Umbreon. You'll beat the regular Magnezone, because like I said, you can't really tear away Frustration, but you will beat regular Magnezone. You also beat Umbreon, and you beat Azumarill. That's with the Gunk... This is what's huge. Being able to beat Azu with the Gunk Shot variation is gigantic. Because here's what happens. If Gunk Shot lands, look how much damage you do. So a Gunk Shot, your opponent will be prompted to shield, because if you land Gunk Shot, it's GG's. That thing does a ton of damage. So as long as you have the Gunk Shot variant, you even threaten Azu. Now, like I said, against Dragonite, be careful against Dragonite. You win against Manabuzz, be careful against Witchcash, and just be careful of Charmers and those Shadow Razor Leafers, because they can still be used. Also, you do beat Ferrothorn. So you beat a good amount of stuff in the 2 shield. So, Obstagoon isn't a bad lead. This is the 1 shield scenario. As you see in the 1 shield, you still beat G-Fisk, and you're going to lose against Scrafty and Altaria. I don't know if there's a scenario where you win against Altaria. I think you only win if you have shield advantage. So there's Altaria. Yes, you only win if you have shield advantage. So the 0-1s or the 0-2s. Otherwise, it's an IV dependent matchup. So just be very careful against our friend, the Big Burb Altaria. You beat Alolan Marowak, of course. Now you only win against Zweilous in the 1 shield if you have Cross Chop. That's because Cross Chop is what you use to kill it. As you see here, you still beat Cross Chop. It isn't needed for a lot of matchups. You'll still win a lot of matchups without it. Zweilous is one of those few special cases where Cross Chop actually matters. You still beat Bama. You beat Shadow Dragonite, but not with the Night Slash version, as you see here. You simultaneously knock out with Dragonair, so also be careful of this matchup. This is also IV dependent. You beat Bastiodon, you beat Tropius Razor Leaf, but you have to land Gunk Shot, so it sucks. Here's what sucks about the Catch Cup. Tropius is regional, so I can foresee someone crazy enough with a Tropius to actually use it in Go Battle League. So Tropius is a monster. Also, Cast Form, Magnezone. You beat Magnezone. You basically beat the same things you beat, and there's nothing that really flips in the 1 shield, unless it's like Obstagoon, and whoever hits each other or wins CMP, I believe wins this one. Or whoever boosts first. As you see in the 1 shield, you do pick up the Wishcash matchup though, so you normally lose against Wishcash in the 2s, but you win in the 1 shield. As you see here. You'll still lose against Shadow Razor Leafer, so just avoid it. But for the most part, the only matchup you really flip, at least that's notable, is Wishcash in the 1s, and Zweilous if you're carrying Cross Chop. Like I said, not too much of a difference. As you see in the 0s, Obstagoon, this is the closer. Obstagoon doesn't do well in the closer. I would try to avoid going to closer as much as possible, unless you have shield advantage. As you see here, you don't do very well against the majority of the meta. You still beat picks like Zweilous. You beat Obama. You'll beat Wigglytuff in the... You'll actually beat Wiggly. This is what's nuts. Wiggly in the closer with bad IVs, you can still beat it with Gunk Shot. Wait, what? Yes. So in the closer, or with shield advantage, what happens is you hurl a giant trash can, and it does 207 points of damage. Yes, it's ridiculous. You can actually kill Charmers with this thing. It's yeah. As long as you land a trash can on a fairy, it dies. So that's why Charmers have to be careful against Obstagoon, because if they land the trash can on you, you die. You're gonna die. You likely will die. As you see, you beat Bama, you beat Bastiodon. You lose against a ton of things in the closer, though. You also beat Clefable, like I mentioned. You can beat the Charmers if you can land a gunshot. You also beat the Shadow Victory Bell. Not Shadow Victory Bell, but you beat Shadow Gloom. You also beat Dragonite, Mandibuzz, Ferrothorn, few interesting picks, and Shadow Vileplume. You do lose against Shadow Victory Bell just because it sucks. A Shadow Victory Bell does enough damage to chunk you down before you get anything. You only win up one shield because it gets to a Leaf Blade. So this is where it becomes dangerous. Now, in even scenarios, unless it's a 2-shield, Obstagoon isn't very strong, and also you won't really force your opponent to shield a lot unless you boost, but you could still threat. There's still a lot of positions where you can threaten with Gunk as you see. Being able to flip with Gunk is huge. Actually, a lot of people actually run the trash can on their moveset for Obstagoon in Open Great League. Now, up a shield, our boy Obstagoon is very, very powerful. Our gal, Obstagoon, extremely powerful. As you see here, it does a lot of damage. You still lose against fighters. So you're still going to lose against fighters. Avoid fighters at all costs. As you see here, you only lose against fighters, pseudo-fighters, and Charmers in the being in a shield advantage. You'll beat everything else. So avoid Charmers. You could probably be... I think you flip Wigglytuff, do you? I believe you do flip the Wigglytuff matchup because you're able to Gunk Shot it. But other than that, just be really careful. So yeah, you do. So as long as you can Gunk Shot it, you can be... In the 0-1s, you will flip fairies. Well, not all fairies. You will actually lose to Togekiss. I wouldn't worry about Togekiss because I don't know who's crazy enough to build one for Great League anyways. I don't know how you're going to find one. I believe to encounter Togekiss in the wild is literally like 0.01%. So like, I wouldn't worry about a Togekiss in this meta. Well, you have to get it as a Togetic, and you have to pray it's low enough to where you evolve with Togekiss, and then you can use it. But I wouldn't worry about Togekiss too much. I really wouldn't. Even if someone's spoofing, this is so rare. Whimsicott's interesting though, because you can see Whimsicott in... Yeah, Whimsicott, you can actually catch Cottonies because of an event. So you'll know you need... If you win... In order to win this matchup, you need energy advantage. As you see, you need energy... Yeah, you kind of need energy advantage. As you see here, if we have... Let's say we have 2 counters in. You have 14 energy ahead. You will be able to get to a Gunk Shot. So you need... The only mon where you need to really watch out for is probably Whimsicott as far as fairies go. Because you'll still beat Wigglytuff and Clefable, but you will lose against Whimsicott just because it does so much damage. So just be really careful in the closer. Or in the shield advantage. So Obstagoon's a little tricky to play, especially against Charmers, but you have outs, which is good. Now, against fighters, you straight up die, so just try to stay away from Charmers. In the 2-shield scenario, you will beat everything but Charmers. Literally, well... The Charmers and fighters, so like pretty much the same scenario as the 0-2s. You will beat everything except Togekiss, Whimsicott, Surfetch'd, Machamp, and yeah. Just stay away from fighters. If you can't, just remember you need to either can them, or you need energy advantage to win. So, or you can beam them or cross. As you see, without Gunk Shot, you actually lose against Azu. So having an out against Azu is huge. If you have Cross Chop Night Slash, you will not be able to KO it. You could even KO it with Hybrid Beam if you wanted to. Now, for this, for the moveset I recommend, as you see here, it's definitely Night Slash Gunk Shot. You don't really need Cross Chop in a lot of scenarios for Greatly. Like I said, the only one it's notable is the ones for Zweilous. So, in the 2-1s, Obstagoon is still very powerful as well. As you see here, you'll beat a lot of your matchups except like what I aforementioned. Charmers and fighters. So be careful. You also drop the Shadow Victory Belt and the Shadow Vileplume matchup. So you also lose against some Razor Leafers. So in the 2-1s, compared to being in the 0s, it does matter. And with a shield, unless your opponent's in the 0s, you can't can them. So you can't throw the Gunk Shot. So if you can't throw Gunk Shot, unfortunately, you do lose the matchup with Clefable. And you do lose the matchup with Wigglytuff. And even against Whimsicott, because even if you have energy advantage, as long as they can shield the trash can, you're fine, unless they choose not to. I swear, if you're able to can through the shield, it's freaking hilarious, and it does a lot of damage, and that fairy will probably die. Alright, so considering Obstagoon's actually a really popular pick in Open Great League 2, I give Obstagoon a solid... I actually give it an 8 out of 10. So the reason why I rank Obstagoon so high is because other than Wigglytuff, this is arguably probably the cheapest pick for GBL for you, barring that you catch other great things. But if you're using just GBL rewards, etc., and you're not out catching anything, or you don't encounter anything lucky, this thing is actually the arguably the cheapest option, because you get it at level 20 if you hatch it, or if you get it from GBL rewards. I think it's at like level 15 or 20, so it's very, very cheap to power up, and its second move's only 10k, making it one of the best Pokemon, in my opinion, the cheapest and one of the best. It is double weak to fighting. You do have to avoid the cons I have with it, with Obstagoon, is that you do have to avoid fighters and charmers, so you do have to try to avoid them at all costs. The good thing about Obstagoon is with Gunk Shot, it does give you an out versus fairies. That's why it's kind of really good. The only thing, like I said, as long you have to avoid fighters, but other than that, that Obstagoon is very strong. You might have seen it a lot in Open Great League, and if it's even in Open Great League, as you see, it sports an impressive amount of wins, only usually losing to 1 fighters and 2 charmers. Fighters, charmers, pseudo counter users, in other words, like other fighters that like kill you, and it's just really solid across the board. 73% is great. It's pretty dang good, especially in the 2 shield scenario. In the 1 shield, it's still equally as impressive, but you get what I mean. It's very, very good. It's really good. I do recommend you do find one and use it, especially if you're hurting for Stardust. You literally just have to evolve it, and it's very likely you may have an Obstagoon ready for the Catch Cup. It's that simple. Anyways, I hope you guys just liked this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. Again, Obstagoon is a very powerful mon. Versal does have an out versus fairies. It's very cheap to use, and even though it has a very unique typing, it still has strong play in even Open Great League, especially even for the Catch Cup. So even if your opponent does have souped up Pokemon, you can actually beat Obstagoon. I mean, you can actually beat it with Obstagoon. Having an out versus Azu and other fairies is also a plus, making Gunk Shot and making Obstagoon one of the biggest monsters in all of Great League. It's very, very good, very versatile. A lot of battlers like it. I like it too, and I definitely recommend you use it for the Catch Cup if you plan on building one. Because like I said, it's probably one of the cheapest options out there. It will save you a ton of Stardust, and it will get you a lot of Ws if you play it well in the Catch Cup.